Hello, hello, and welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos. If you are new here, my name is Nina, and I love creating videos around gothic fashion. I've specifically witchy, Victorian, romantic goth type of fashion. And then I also like to do videos around beauty because your ghoul here is a licensed esthetician. And then just videos on lifestyle because I love connecting with you guys a little bit more on a personal level and just sharing some other spooky things of my life that you guys might be able to um, vibe with or relate to. So, to start, I know it's been a while since I've posted a YouTube video. I've had a lot going on. I started a new job and I kind of took the last month and a half to just go through training at the new job, go through just basically just getting adjusted to a new schedule, getting into like a routine, making time for other things to do content outside of that routine. Just overall, basically, just trying to get balanced and get into a routine of things. I have not left forever. I'm still creating content, I'm still here. I've just, like I said, just kind of been trying to get into the balance and foundation of things. So today's video is a video that I've talked a little bit about off and on through my Instagram. And I think I've mentioned it a couple times in my previous YouTube videos, but I'm going to share a ghost story with you guys today. And this story is a personal experience of mine, something that I personally experienced on my own, and I was alone. So before I start the story, I want to go ahead and give just a little bit of background context. Ghosts and things of the paranormal has always been something that has been a favorite of mine. My favorite horror movies are paranormal type of horror movies. So my favorite franchises are the Conjuring franchise, the Insidious franchise, and I love all the spin-off movies of that, like The Nun and Annabelle. I also grew up watching paranormal TV shows with my mother growing up. It was one of the very few things that we were able to bond on. Side note, I did not have one of the best relationships with my mom, but when we were getting along, it was we were connecting and bonding through watching ghost hunting TV shows together. We would watch shows like Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, we watched Taps, we watched The Dead Files, you name it. We were watching any paranormal show that there was. I also Little backstory, I was also a little bit exposed to ghosts when I was younger. I remember, I think I was about 6 years old, and a new girl had moved to town. I was developing a friendship with her. She became my best friend. And a few months into our friendship, she would tell me about this haunted house that she used to live in and would tell me stories. But I was also so very intrigued at ghosts and their existence and if they were actually real. There was also a time where I was having a conversation with my mother and she told me about a memory that she had when I was really, really, really little. I think it was about 2 or 3, and she had walked in on me in my room having a conversation with somebody, and she said, "Who are you talking to?" And I would tell her that I was talking to grandpa all the time. And for a while, she kept telling me it just didn't make sense to her because both of my grandfathers on my mother and my father's side were both still alive at that time. And it wasn't until a couple months later that she was able to put two and two together that my great grandfather had passed away 3 weeks prior to me telling her that I was talking to grandpa. I've also had my own personal experiences. I wouldn't say that I'm clairvoyant, really. I do experience really, like, when I walk into a haunted place, I do experience like fuzzy, like strong, fuzzy type of energy. Like I can feel where they are. I focus more on feeling. I can sense more things of feelings versus seeing. So whenever I walk into a haunted location, I can kind of feel where they are and I can kind of get somewhat of a visual in my mind's eye, but can feel if they're next to me. I can feel what kind of energy that they're resonating at, if it's a higher vibration, lower vibration. I can pick up on a lot just through feeling. At most, I would say I'm a sensitive, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a medium or a clairvoyant. So yeah, that's the things of the paranormal have just been very much a part of my whole life, my entire life growing up, and I've had some personal experiences, spooky experiences along the way, and I want to share some of those with you. I also enjoy doing ghost investigations, which I hope to do more in the future, and I can't wait to share those with you guys too. So let's get on to the story. This story isn't going to be a particularly long story. It's somewhat short, but I saw a full bodied apparition in this story. To give a little context, I live in Southern California and I was working at a horror spooky themed museum that is located in Burbank. And at this time, they had two different locations. They had one couple blocks up that was, I cannot talk today. They had one, their main location, couple blocks up from the second location, which is where I normally worked. And I usually worked at the second location by myself. This museum horror shop is also an oddities store where they sell like Halloween horror themed things, but also creepy oddity 1800s, 1900s, really, really old type stuff, like dental teeth, dental chair type of stuff, like basically anything you can think of. Witchy gothic stuff, but they also had a horror themed museum. Like I said, I was always scheduled to work at their second location, which was just a couple blocks down the street from their main location. And normally I would open and close that location by myself every day, so I was there alone. This location specifically was really, really, really cool because they had a seance room with a bunch of Ouija boards in the back of the room. So, you can already bet that this place was most definitely haunted. At most, working for this specific place, at most, I would mostly experience, certain feelings, picking up different energy vibrations, fuzzy energy type of stuff like I normally do. I wouldn't rarely see any full bodied apparitions until one night when I saw one and I was closing by myself. So I think the middle of the week. It was for sure a weekday, so it had already kind of been a slow day. And I was getting ready to close the little interactive museum down and, make sure I turned everything off, that I was tidying up things that needed to tidying up, mopping the floor if it looked bad enough, just the overall mundane things that you need to do when closing up shop before going home for the day. And I remember that I had closed everything from the front. So I had locked the front door, and normally when I would close from the front all the way towards the back, and I would do it in that order, specifically from front all the way to back, because normally I would leave out the back because that's where setting the alarm would be to put in the code. You'd set the alarm, you'd have a few seconds, lock the door, shut the door, lock it, and leave before the countdown of starting the alarm would go off. So I had made it all the way to the back and I was cleaning up and finishing the rest of the back in the seance room. And I was in this like little room that was kind of sectioned off from everything else. It was kind of like its own little room, but it was right next to the seance room. And I had the vacuum going. I was vacuuming the rug. I had vacuumed the front. Like I said, I went from front to back, wiping, vacuuming, wiping the next room, vacuuming. And when I got to this little room, before I would get to the seance room, I was vacuuming. And as I was vacuuming, the door to this room was wide open. And the only lights that were on were the lights of the little room that I was in vacuuming and the seance room. All the lights in the seance room were on. Those were the only areas in the building that were on that had lights on. And as I was continued to vacuum, I went to turn this way to start vacuuming another area of the room. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone, and at the time I thought it was my manager, walk by the doorway walking into the seance room. and that was a full-bodied apparition. And at first, I did not think anything of it. I did not think that it was a ghost at first. I honestly legit thought that it was my manager who had come to either help me finish up closing or be the one to set the alarm and lock it up after I'd left. And I remember I think I had a question specifically about some hours or something the following week, so I had turned off the vacuum. And I went to go follow into the seance room to go get them to be like, hey, I have a question. Nobody was there. My manager's car was not in the back. I had checked the bathrooms. No one was using the bathroom in this establishment. I was there completely alone, and I had just saw a full-bodied person walk past. And when I came to the conclusion that nobody was there, and usually if they come from the back and then leave, the back door in the back is extremely loud. Like it slams shut that it shakes the whole building. So if someone had walked out and then just left right as I turned the vacuum off, I would have heard the door shut from the back if someone was actually there and then left. And that didn't happen. Nobody was there. It was just me. And I realized that I had saw a full-bodied apparition walk past the doorway. And I was a little creeped out after that. I finished up what I needed to finish up, and I quickly vacuumed in the seance room, turned everything off, locked the door, and I left for the night. And ever since then, I never experienced seeing a full-bodied apparition after that since then, from then until the end of my employment. That was the one and only time that I ever saw a full-bodied apparition. But I did still continue to get like vibes and feelings and like fuzzy energy of certain things in certain areas like I normally do. And yeah, that's pretty much it in that location. There's also other experiences that I've heard from when I used to work there that my coworkers at the time would always tell me about their own specific ghost experiences, because this oddity shop that I used to work at, they used to have little, I forget what they're called, but they're little keepsakes, and it would have people's lock of hair in them. And I know there's a specific word for them, what these like little carrying things are, but I keep forgetting what they are. I'll have to look it up, and if I find it, I'll kind of put it in the description here or wherever I can put it on the screen. But you bet that we had some really old stuff that I really felt like some people who have passed on were still very attached to or still very connected to. So this overall oddities museum was most definitely haunted. I'm pretty sure it's still haunted to this day. But that was just one personal experience that I had working there by myself one night. And that was not the only time that I've seen a full-bodied apparition. I have other stories and other experiences that I'll probably tell in other future YouTube videos at another time. But yeah, that's today's story. Like I said, it's not a super long video, it's not a super long story. That's what happened. If you would like me to share more of my ghost experiences and my ghost encounters, as well as experiences that I've had doing ghost investigations or just being in a haunted place casually, I will definitely share more stories with you. I do hope that you enjoyed this story overall, even though it was short. But I will see you guys in my next video, and thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're clicking like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video, okay? Bye!